What's going on, people, and welcome today to Agit Codeworks. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and today we are going to be looking at an interesting one. We are going to be looking at how to build a user authentication system using PHP and a MySQL database. Okay, that would be a user login and a registration system, which, if you are familiar with a lot of popular social media platforms, you will know that you need to sign in or register or sign up to be able to have access to the application. We're going to see how to build this. All right, let's look at what we're going to have, the outcome we're going to have by the end of the tutorial. So we're going to have something like this. As you can see, this is the sign-in page. I can sign in using a valid username and a password to the application. The logged in user here is Chris, and then if you don't have an account yet, you can create an account directly here by adding your email, first name, surname, password, confirm your password. You can create your account. So that's what we are looking at, how to build. And then to be able to achieve this, a couple of things that would bump into would be: number one, we're going to use, for our login page, we're going to use a Bootstrap template, which I'll get into that. There will be a link in the description for downloading your own template. Then we're going to use the MySQL database. So first of all, we have a Bootstrap template for the user interface. We're going to set up our data structure using MySQL. Okay, let me not use the phrase data structure. We're going to be setting up a database for our application, okay, to store the user data, store encrypted passwords, and so on and so forth. Okay, then we are going to be looking at URL redirection that would help us force users to a login before they can access our application. For example, you try to view an Instagram link or a Facebook link without a login, you notice that you are redirected to your actual login page so that it validates the device first before accessing Instagram, something like that. We're going to look at how to encrypt our password using a secure hash, PHP server-side validation, that's using PHP code to validate the data entering our server, manage user state in session. That means I need to track whether the user is logged in or not, then password verification and stuff like that, and so on and so forth. All right, let's cut the chase and let's do this. Okay, first things first. Okay, I already have an extracted folder here, but you would have to download this login app.zip file. There will be a link in the description. It just contains the HTML, the simple HTML page that has not yet been programmed, the simple HTML template, the design for our login page and our sign-in page, and so on and so forth. So there will be a link in the description. When you get it, extract. So I say extract here, and when it extracts, I have my login app. So you copy the login app extracted from the login app zip in the description. Then you go to your htdocs folder. This is my drive C, my example. In my htdocs folder, you paste it there. Okay, that is the root of your web server. Now, if your environment is not yet set up for developing PHP and MySQL, I will also put a link in the description for you to set up your own environment and then catch up with this training. That means set up your Apache web server and your MySQL database so you have the same environment as we do. But if you already have a PHP development environment and you understand what I'm saying, you can continue with the project or with the video or with the tutorial. All right, let's move on. So I open my login app. So I open the index.php. So when I open it up, let's see what the page looks like right now. Full file path to clipboard. So let's see. So I paste this, and then from htdocs I say localhost, it's hosted locally on my system. All right, this is the application. All right, so but you will notice that we were not asked to log in, so that means it's not yet secure. We could access it without a valid login. Okay, now to put that first layer of security, remember I explained URL redirection at the beginning of the video, where I mentioned that I gave an example with viewing Instagram or Facebook pages without an actual login. Okay, so let's do that on our page now. That would mean some PHP script will be written. So let's use PHP code and secure this page from malicious access without a login. So I put a PHP tag here, PHP, and then let's test if a user session has been created via a login. So I can say if is set. The set function tests whether a variable has been set, and that variable is a session variable denoted by $_session, and the name is user underscore ID. Okay, it's set if it's equal to false, which means it's not yet set. The header PHP header function will be used to redirect the user or the visitor to a login page. So that would mean the header function location, and then we say sign in .php. All right, so if the user is tested, if the device is tested and on this browser session there's no user ID session, it's going to redirect you to the sign-in page for an actual login. All right, let's see that in action. So I come here, let's refresh the page. I refresh, bam, notice what's going on. It's redirecting me back to the sign-in page. Even if I type the link to the page directly, index.php, notice it takes me back unless a sign-in occurs. All right, first layer of security is already implemented. Now let's go to the next stage. We're going to build a database now. I told you the MySQL database will be used as our backend for data storage. All right, so let's do our database management system, otherwise known as DBMS. So if you followed my setup and you've configured your MySQL environment properly, you would hit Windows button and type CMD, and then it takes you here straight to the Windows command line. Then you run the command mysql -u root ROT. That's the default user in the MySQL environment. This is the default command for logging into a MySQL service. So when I do that, this cursor here changes to a MySQL prompt. So first step is to create the database in question. So we say create database, let's call it database agit login. Okay, or let's use agit codeworks. All right, so agit codeworks is the name of our database, right? So that means a database service exists. Our app is going to use this to store information and data. Okay, so now let's select the database by saying use agit codeworks. Then database changed. Now next thing, to create the user table that will hold the data, you go back to the login app folder. There is a script.sql, edit with notepad++, copy, create table users down here. This is the SQL command that creates your user table, which is going to hold information about users. It has the email, column, first name, surname, your password, and the date the user was created. So we copy this and then we go straight here. Now by all means you can type this yourself directly into the MySQL prompt, but to keep the video from being just extremely too lengthy, I will run it from here. So it says okay, so the data is now available. But if I go, let me view the table or select the table. So if I say select asterisk from users, you will notice that it says empty set. But after a sign up, if we try this again, you will notice that the signed up users record has been stored in the users table in our MySQL database. All right, let's sign up. Let's look at our sign up script now. I think I'm done with this. All right, so to create the module that connects us to the database, I take file, I open it. Then here I say I create the folder, right click here, say new folder. Remember, this folder is inside my login app folder, my login app project. All right, so we will call it let's say include. All right, we have the include folder here. So let's create a new file, a new PHP file. This file is going to be called, let's save as inside the include folder. we call it config.php. This would be the file or module that helps us make a connection to the database. Okay, so let's do that. So to do that, we say PHP, it's a script. We have to now say MySQLi underscore connect. That's a function for connecting a MySQL database. We need a couple of information. One is where the database is located. It's on my system, so it's localhost. If it was on a remote server, this would be an IP address. Then the username is root. The password is empty. We've not put an active password in the MySQL database. Then the name of the database is agitcodeworks, right? Just like we specified a couple of minutes ago. All right, if this works, it's going to return a connection object. Okay, it returns to us a connection. Okay, if it does not work, you say or die. Die is a function, DIE, which will stop the server and return an error. Let's say database connection failed, right? Okay, this is script for connecting to your database. Okay, so if it worked, we have an echo here. Database connection successful. So we're going to try this particular script first of all as an isolated script to be sure this connection, our app has a valid connection to a database. So I'm going to right click this, full file path to clipboard, paste it here from htdocs backwards, localhost. When I run this, database connection successful, so we are good to go. We are good to proceed. The app can see the database service. Now, just for test purposes, assuming the database is down, I just came to the XAMPP control panel, I stopped the database. If it was down and you try to run this same script, the die function is going to be executed, and you notice there's a database connection failed here. So the connection could not be made because target machine actively refused it. Of course, it would refuse it. The server is not even accessible. So we start the MySQL service again, and then when we refresh, the app says database connection successful. Okay, now we've succeeded with this. I do not need this printout of database connection successful, unless you still need it. So I'll leave it this way. Now, let's do the user sign up now. For the user sign up, we are going to be modifying this page to include the algorithm or the script for making a login happen. All right, so we go to file, we say open, and then we go to sign up.php. Now, the most important part of this sign up is the form. So you notice the form tag. This is the form tag, starts here, closes here, with the fields email address, first name, email address here, first name here, surname, password, and then a confirmation of the password. Now, the variables that will be generated to store the data typed into this field are called post variables. That's why this thing says method post. All right. More on that later. I have a PHP playlist tutorials for beginners. You could visit that on my channel, this same channel. There's a playlist for PHP. You could visit that and follow through. All right, so what do we have here? So the most important element for what we're about to do is the name of the input. So email, the name is called email. First name, name is called first name. Surname, name is called surname. Then the password name is, your guess is as good as mine, password. The name of the confirmed password is confirm_password. All right, let's process data now. For data, if you notice, the data processing here is not yet available. If I click this button, the file is not yet responding to such actions. All right, let's process data. We are going to store information typed into our registration form now to the MySQL database. So We go with a PHP script with our PHP tag. First of all, we include the config file by saying include slash config.php. Once we do this, it means the contents of this particular script are now executed here, which means the file have now connected. Then something else we'll add here, we can come here and add session_start. Session variables cannot be used if a session has not been started, so to say. So for us to commence with the code, add session_start into the config script. All right, now we say if, let's test if data processing has started. So we use the email field to check that. So if is set $_post for email. If it has been set, then we start logging in. We start performing the login, the user account creation, okay, which involves, first of all, we extract the data typed into these input fields: email, first name, surname, and password. To extract that data, we create the email variable. Email variable is equals to $_post. So this is where the name of the input field comes in. You have email here. For the first name, you have the same thing. First name equals to let me just do this, Ctrl C, Ctrl V. Then we have first name. Okie dokie. After first name, we have surname. Okay, surname. We're having a spelling dilemma right here. Okay, so surname. All right, we have surname. The next should be our password. So we have the password extracted. The name of the post variable is also password. The next we have is our confirm_password, and in the post data we have confirm_password. All right, now before we proceed with registering a user, we have to do some PHP validations. Remember the beginning slide, the slide at the beginning, we mentioned we are supposed to validate the data with PHP on the server side. So let's verify first of all that the password typed here and the confirm password is the same thing before we proceed. So we say if password is equal to confirm password. If they are equal, then we continue. Okay, else if they are not the same, that means the user must have mistyped the confirmation of his password. So we display a message. We output a simple HTML at the top middle of the page. We use a paragraph tag. This is a simple HTML paragraph that would say please reconfirm your password. Right, let's put a little style into it. Since it's a warning message, let's make it red in color. I could say style. I'm using single quote here. Take note because the outer one is already double quote, so just code along. Style equals to color. Let's keep the color green. Then let's make the text align, should be center. Well, for all I care, you could just display echo please reconfirm password. That's okay, but I just want to add a little aesthetics to this. All right, so I haven't done that. Let's see what we now do. So assuming the password and the confirm password are the same, this code will not be executed. Let's register the user. What we will do here is, first things first, we create our SQL statement. SQL statement is an insert statement in SQL. Insert into users. All right, a list of the columns we are inserting data into. That would be email, first name, surname, and then password. Okay, let's just change line. I'll get it back up again. The values we'll be adding. The values we'll be adding will include, for email, we have the extracted email from the form, $ email. For first name, we have the extracted first name from the form. For surname, we have the font surname from the user's form, which we are all initialized at the top here. All right, then for password, we have to use an encrypted password. So let's create a variable here, call it $ encrypted _ password. Now that variable does not exist yet, so we can create it here. Let's encrypt the password at the top here. So to encrypt the password, we have this variable encrypted _ password, which will be equal to, we use a hashing algorithm. It takes two arguments. One is the MD5. The second one is the password we want to encrypt. So it will encrypt this password, okay, with this algorithm, then store it here, and that's the information we are now storing here in the database table. All right, I hope all this is okay. So for the sake of space, and I want my print to be bold, so type this carefully. All right, type all this carefully. Okay, so just a little recap. The SQL statement says we are inserting data into the users table. The fields we are inserting into is email, first name, surname, and password. The values we are adding is the email we extracted here, first name we got here, surname, and then the encrypted copy of the password. All right, let's see how this goes. So please, I place them back in a straight line. I don't know the editor you are using and how it works, but we are just having it in a straight line. So after having the SQL, we are going to now run the query with MySQL I_query function. It takes two arguments, which is number one, the connection, which is made available by this include created in this file, and then the SQL statement generated. If that does not work, if something is wrong and the query does not work, show us an error message that has data. After displaying the MySQL error, you can tell us data not saved, right? But should it work, we have a message that says echo. Remember, the die function terminates the server process and then the page doesn't load further. So if the page gets here, that means there was a successful login. So not login, successful creation of the account. My bad. All right, so here what we would say here is user account created successfully. So let's just copy this, still a message just like this one. So place this, and then the message here will be green. Okay, this would be red, just a status by the way. While the success message is green, the warning message is red. So instead of please reconfirm your password, we have user account created successfully. So we have account creation covered right now. So let's see how it works. If we see any error messages, we are going to go through the correction together. All right, let's do this. So now let me just refresh the page. Well, for our email, we create a user. Let's say his name is, let's say, chris@gmail.com, and then the first name, let's say, is Christopher. The surname is Daniel, The password is let's just use anything, C1234. C1234. So let's see if we can create this account. So we say create account, and then it says user account created successfully. So we are good. To verify that worked, we go back to our MySQL database and we say select asterisk from users, and we notice the data is stored. You notice this. Remember when we created ID auto increments. So ID is 1, email is chris@gmail.com, first name is Christopher, surname is Daniel, password, this is encrypted. I told you my password was C1234. So this is an encrypted copy of that same password. Then the date it was created is stored here. Let's create one more account to be sure we are good, then we proceed. So let's say george@gmail.com, first name is George, surname is Marvel, password is, let's say, G1234, and then G1234. All right, we create the account. Of course it works. And then back here we have George right now. All right, so we good. Password encrypted, 2 accounts created successfully. Now let's log in. Let's work on the login part. Let's do that. So next thing, we go sign in, since we are done with account creation. So to sign in, to write the code for signing in, we go to the signin.php, open in our template. The sign in user interface is here, the HTML for the sign in. This is it. So we put our PHP script here, of course. Okay, what we have here first of all is, remember, just like the other one, the form is the important part. The name is email, for the email field is email, for the password field is password as well. So just 2 fields. Let's do a login very quickly. So first thing, we make sure we connect to the database with include. So you don't have to retype the code for connecting the database, just include the file, include/config.php. Okay, after that you now check if field has been set. If is set, $_post email. If it has been set, then we can commence with logging in. The login will look this way. Of course, we extract the email data first, which is the data posted from the email field, post email, and then we also extract the password, and this would be the password variable. Okay, so now we have to also encrypt the password. So encrypted password, encrypted_password will be equal to the hashing algorithm with the hash function, takes 2 arguments. One is the MD5 and the other is the password in question. So as usual, it encrypts this password, stores it in encrypted password. All right, let's go ahead and test from our login. So we have an SQL statement. This is a pretty straightforward SQL statement. We go select asterisk from users where email is equals to this email from the field, and password is equals to, remember, the one stored is encrypted, so we are also going to search using the encrypted copy of the password. So your quotes are important as well. So this is the query. Select start from users, where email is the email typed and password is the encrypted password. If this particular query returns record, it means it's a valid user. If it does not, that means it's an invalid login. All right, so here we go. So $result will be equals to the MySQLi underscore query. Takes two arguments as usual, the connection, but this one returns a result. It returns a result set. SQL, should we have a problem or die? There's an error. Data retrieval error or what have you. So this message will accompany the error we'll get should something go wrong with this query. Okay, now it mustn't be that the query is wrong. Database could just be unavailable, which happens rarely. All right, depending on who's giving the database service anyways. All right, so here we go. So we first of all check if the result retrieved is greater than 0. So I can say if the if statement is here, if MySQLi underscore num underscore rows for the result. The MySQL underscore num underscore rows returns the number of rows in the result set retrieved. Once it is greater than 0, we have a valid login. So the login works. So we have a redirect again, header redirect to the login. So we have location index.php. And before the redirect, we're going to fetch some session information we will store in the browser to remember that the user has logged in. One of them is $_session. Okay, to do that, we need to say, first of all, let's fetch the data, associative array. Let's fetch an associative array representation of the row of data returned. All right, let's do that. So I go MySQLi underscore fetch underscore associative. So this is the function that fetches associative array from the result set. Okay, once it does that, then we populate the session data. Remember in the PowerPoint slide we mentioned being able to hold session state information. So we have session here, the user underscore ID, which should be valid for the login to happen. We have $row, the column name ID is fetched and stored there. The next column we'll fetch is the user's email. The next column we'll fetch is the user's first name. The next column we will fetch again is the surname, and that should be it. Surname and surname here. All right, now we've taken care of what happens when the login is successful, which is to direct the user to the page in the application he wants to view. If the login is not successful, we have an else statement, which would simply display a message saying invalid login credentials. Let's style it a bit. Style will be equals to color red, text align, center, and the message in between here will be invalid login credentials. Okay, I think we are good. Let's just do a little house cleaning here. One final thing we'll do in the index.php page, we'll also include, since every page is likely to need to connect to the database or start a session, let's just include, we will include the config page here, config.php, right? And then, just like most social media platforms, when you log into your Twitter account or your Facebook account, you notice your name with a welcome message or something at the top of the page. Let's add it for the currently logged on user. So we will, after the navigation bar, the next div inside it here, since we've captured the session records here, we could choose to display anyone inside the app. Session variables still exist across every available script once the browser has not been closed. Take note of that. So let's display it here. So it's a session record now. Okay, so we are going to just echo welcome, then concatenate, which is dot in PHP, the session, the first name registered for the session. Session first name. First name. Okay, that is good. Okay, all things seems good. Now let's give it a run now. Let us give it a run. So we full file path to clipboard. So from htdocs here, we say localhost. So let's try sign in. So we have chris@gmail.com and my password C1234. We log in. And here we go, it's successful. And notice we have Christopher at the top here, because the first name of the login user is Christopher. Just like if you log in with any other created account, the person's name will be here. Okay, here you go. That's a fully working user authentication system. We created the accounts and then we logged in with accounts we created. Very useful aspect of most applications. Now, if you found this video very useful, please don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video, and please do have a wonderful rest of the day. And don't forget, any comment you have or anything that's confusing, your comments are very welcome at the comment section. I'll be glad to deal with whatever you have to ask. All right, have a wonderful day. Thank you.